Okay, so today we will discuss Chapter 6, Practice, Values, and Ethics, Social Work with Families. Chapter 6 mainly talks about the values and ethical issues that arise when working with families. They define client and how our definitions of a client shape our ethical obligations, explores complexities that may arise when different family members have different interests, needs, and motivation towards change, and also talks about words a social worker can use to discuss issues with clients. Who is a client? The client is someone who seeks help, agrees to help, receives help, pays for the help. The text definition of a client is an individual, family, group, organization, or community who agrees to receive help of a social worker or is mandated by court or another authority to receive such help. Other related roles are referral sources. These are organizations or an individual that suggests or requires a client to seek special services. For example, a teacher who helps a family set up an appointment with a family counseling agency, that would be known as their referral source. There's also the intervention focus. These are systems that a social worker works with, like individuals, families, groups, organizations, communities, or other social systems as part of planned change. For example, if a child is having difficulties at school, one focus may be the child, another focus may be the parent, and another focus may be the school. So the school, the parent, and the child all make up part of this intervention system that the social worker is working with. Other related roles are the beneficiary, which is individuals, families, groups, or communities that derive advantages from the delivery of services. For example, a social worker who advocates for equality for a particular minority client may be doing work that benefits the entire minority community by setting a positive example. There's also the payer, which is an individual, family, group, community that pays or compensates the social worker or agency for its services. For example, corrections department that contracts out substance abuse services for probation clients. Okay, so now, what if any of the related rules requires client information? Let's suppose a teacher referred family to a social worker because the student has been having attention difficulties at school. So the teacher calls the social worker to see how is the student doing in counseling. So the question would be, how should the social worker respond? Well, as a social worker, I'm required to maintain the confidentiality of all clients. I cannot even tell you whether this family has ever contacted me. The teacher will need to ask the parent to sign a confidentiality release form that the social worker can provide him with. So a consent is basically it's basically a contract in which the client and agency agree upon what the information may be shared. And the contract, there should be included what type of information can be shared, to whom, and over what time period. Also, another great example that I want to bring up that the textbook mentioned is, let's say there's a client who's suffering from high levels of stress. As part of our intervention plan, you want to speak with your boss, and because they can help with the work environment and maybe just relieve some of the stress. Well, either way, you will need consent from your client. And if you do get that consent, you need to limit the disclosure about your client to the minimum to facilitate work with the boss. Question 2, also for this one, what client role is a teacher? So answer would be is a teacher's a referral source. Let's talk more about the payer. So the beneficiary, referral sources, and intervention-focused systems might understand the importance of confidentiality. However, the payer might have different mindset. They might think, I'm the one paying for the service, so I have the right to know what is happening during the session. Well, the fact the parent is paying for a service of a child or an elderly does not give them automatically right to know everything. Protecting the confidentiality of our clients fosters a safe place for your client to talk. They feel comfortable sharing information that they might not want their parents to know yet. So the only way to disclose information is if your client provides explicit consent and if your client is at significant risk of harming themselves or others. So this is the only way you would be able to disclose this information. Self-determination and informed consent. Self-determination is the right of clients to decide what goals they want to pursue and how they want to pursue them. So we should let them have control of their life. We should not try to impose these goals on them. They're actually more likely to accomplish goals when clients set them rather than when they're imposed by us, a social worker. Informed consent, like previously mentioned, is a process of ensuring self-determination, whereby the worker explains the nature of an intervention, its risks, and its benefits, and asks clients for the voluntary permission to implement the intervention. Both principles of self-determination and informed consent are based on the value of respect for the individuality and self-worth of all people. Respecting the right of self-determination. Some of the ways to show how you're respecting the right of self-determination in your client is by demonstrating empathy. This builds trust and opens dialogue with the client. You can also invite your client to help set the agenda. For example, you can tell them, since you're already here, I wonder if there are some concerns that you might like to discuss. Also, if you have two conflicting family members that they just can't seem to agree on a simple goal, well, you can try to help them find a goal that they can agree upon. After searching for mutual goals, family members still cannot agree on what they want to achieve from the social work process, then the social worker might have to terminate the social work process rather than impose a goal on certain family members. The social worker could consider referring family members for individual work. Remember, an intervention that seems right to the worker might not be right for the clients. Even if you have a preferred intervention plan, you can simply present it as an option and invite the client to discuss the possible benefits and risks of this intervention. Always show openness to discuss various alternatives. This allows your client to express diverse views and make their own decisions. It's all about self-determination. Chapter 6 also talks about consent versus assent. Children may lack the mental capacity to provide informed consent, not only children, but elderly adults too. It's important to acknowledge their thoughts and wishes. Thus, we can obtain their assent, which is a form of permission or agreement to participate in certain types of service from a legal perspective. This empowers children by involving them in the family decision-making process. Parental consent must still need to be obtained. Engaging clients in ethic-related discussions. In order to have an effective communication, try using plain language, like mirror the client's language. Try using their language. If they understand it better, then focus more on that area. Also, check back for understanding. So make sure that they're understanding everything that's being explained to them. Don't simply ask, do you understand? Because they might simply nod and say, yes, I do, for maybe they're too shy, or maybe they don't want to feel dumb and say no, or ask you to re-explain it a different way. So instead, a way that you can help them understand better is ask the client to summarize what you've just explained. Also provide positive reinforcement for what they do know, clarifying misunderstandings and adding key information that they have missed. Also, you must remain open to disagreements and respect the client's choices. By showing respect, social workers honor clients' right to self-determination and build trust for future work together. Finally, the textbook suggests that social workers need to balance the needs, wishes, and interests of various family members. By demonstrating respect for the dignity, worth, and autonomy of client families, social workers model ethical behavior and builds trust needed to help work through difficult issues with the client.